Hey, why don't we get back into the show? My top five moments of 2019 of the year. Okay, let's bang. Let's start at number 5. I call it 10 rounds of hell. It was UFC 236 in Atlanta. I was, Luke, #blessed to get to cover it that night. And in the end, you had the 2 fights of the year, number 1 and 2, in my opinion, back-to-back in the co-main event and the main event. Interim title fights in both. Adesanya Gastelum in the co-main. Poirier outlasting Max Holloway in the main event. And Luke, there's been what I like to call magic in the air at some fights memorably. Do you remember UFC 217 at the Garden? It was bang, 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 3 title fights in a row, insane endings. There's a high in the air that is just palpable. There was something special this night in Atlanta in these 10 rounds. It were 2 fights that really mattered. And we can argue all day whether Dana putting an unnecessary interim title bout in each one sort of raised the stakes, which was his goal, when we sort of rightfully all week were like, this is ridiculous, you don't need these. In the end, it all worked out. I saw the reason why we watch this sport. I saw 2 fights that could be those fights when people say, hey, man, you're a boxing fan? You're like, yeah, man, I used to love it in the 90s. What's the fight that got you into it? Everybody's got that story. Everybody's got that Gotti Ward where you're like, I wasn't a big fan, but that one fight just pulled me in. There was something special in the air, and especially in Adesanya Gastelum, where it was not only the fight of the year, I thought, hands down, I think it's on the short list of the greatest fights in UFC history from the standpoint of 2 elite guys in their absolute primes. Kelvin Gastelum on one night put together the performance we had wanted him to put together for years, thought that was possible. And then you had a guy in Adesanya, like I mentioned earlier, who really had to critically prove that he had the backbone to stand up with his flashy style and his mouth and all that stuff. And it was a humbling 3 rounds of tactical war back and forth, and then 2 absolutely batshit crazy rounds of near submissions, near finishes. And then you just sprinkle on Holloway Poirier on the top of that.
Yeah. It was one co-main event.
It was one of those nights where you're there as a journalist, but you walk out of that arena at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever and go like, I'm the luckiest man in the world. I just got to experience it.
You don't get an Adesanya versus Gastelum every year, Brian Campbell, but I always try to tell people, my first go-to, like, all the credit in the world to Brian Stan, all the credit in the world to Vanderlei Silva. A lot of people that year, what was that, 2014 or so, they wanted to name that fight of the year, but I don't give it to brawls. But I don't need a brawl to get a fight that just checks all the boxes, which that fight did, where you have high-level technique, where you have back and forth, where their games just kind of fit together like a bit of a Tetris piece, and they can take advantage of each other's weakness, and then somebody has to ask themselves, do I want it more? And they have to rise to the occasion, which you got out of Israel Adesanya. And you also got this moment where you're like, is all that technique he has, is it just good for flash, or is there a real combative component to it? And you got the answer there. To me, there are people accusing MMA journalists of being like, oh, this is on your all-decade list. That's recency bias. That's normally a fair criticism. It's not here.
There was something special that went down that night. My number 4 moment of the year in 2019, it seems like almost years ago at this point, but I don't know if you remember January of 2019, all everybody talked about were the dueling Fyre Fest documentaries, one on Netflix, one on Hulu. And for 2 days, it was viral as ish because of one man. Put it on the big screen, Jay. The great Andy King, who was willing to take one for the team.
He was willing to suck dick.
Wow. So you think I put it on here because, Campbell's the dong guy, all this stuff. No, Luke. Yes,
we had very on brand.
Yes, we had fun with these memes like crazy. But you know what? Shout out to Andy King. Shout out to the ideas of brotherhood, teamwork, loyalty, family. This man was willing to risk it all. When I look around this room, okay, people don't realize that behind these cameras, there's a staff of like 12 hungry-ass people out there making it work for us, all right? Now, there's ladies in there. I get a lot of gross looks after I make jokes in the camera. But what I'm saying is I love these people. I like to believe that we got nothing but Andy Kings out here. All right, I'm not in the.
What are they doing to you when I'm not?
Not in the literal sense necessarily, Luke. I mean more like.
They would metaphorically go to suck the guy's dick to get the water to go to the Fry Festival.
It sounds awful when you put it into those words.
Yeah, it's an awful thing.
But our guy Jake right here, who doesn't know '90s music, that guy's the best. Andy King.
Jake, are Andy King? Yeah,
damn right. So shout out to Andy King for teaching us
Let's have a
this year about teamwork, okay, about loyalty.
Andy King, Just there, he'll do it.
Look at Jake. That guy's the best right there. I love it. All right. My number 3 moment of the year, it doubles as my knockout of the year in boxing.
Does it really?
Deontay Wilder, Barclays Center. This spring, I was there, and he sent Dominic Breazeale to where, Luke?
The land of wind and ghosts.
To the bottom floor of hell with a one-punch knockout. Look, you may have loved his knockout over Luis Ortiz better. Hey, you may have loved Devin Haney against Antonio Moran. If you don't know that knockout, look it up. But for me, this personified in one punch who Deontay Wilder is, what he brings to the table as a attraction, one round, one punch, clean knockout. But it wasn't just the knockout that I love. It was the reaction of those at ringside. Did you see
Where were you?
I was in that mix.
Okay.
Did you see the Showtime was able to zoom in afterwards on the reactions of people? You know Ray Flores, our Showtime colleague.
Yeah, I love Ray.
You know his younger brother Miguel, who does some ring announcing.
Yep.
He had the face of the year. Well, Andy King may have had the face of the year, but he had the face of the year. Jay in the back, can we get this queued up here on the reactions in the crowd here? This was insane. But I think if you want to show somebody who Deontay Wilder is and what he's all about, Luke, this one highlight, we don't have it. Okay, apparently we don't have it. That's great. That's great. It's only
This is a very good show.
It's only a Showtime fight on a Showtime show, guys. No problem at all, right? No, really. Anyway, Luke, take my word for it. There was jaws hanging down. There was so much oh shit going on. Rightfully so, because here is something none of those people could just understand, right? Deontay Wilder might have just killed a man, and that's boxing. That's actually the beer
I'm still
talk.
thinking about Andy King doing what he had to do.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Not in that way, but more like, wow.
Jay, you going to bail me out here,
really
or are we going to, you're going to...
Dude, Jay, you and Jay today, LVPs. You two.
God. Jay, it's Hanukkah season. You no joy, no grace, no doing your job, nothing?
He wore a Hanukkah sweater today. Did you see the Hanukkah sweater?
I came in here so abruptly late, bringing the goods.
You did.
All right. Hey, my number 2. Wow, what a missed opportunity for this show.
You heard his excuse. He's like, I don't have Miguel Flores on lock. Isn't that your
Anyway,
job?
there's this zoom in look of everybody going nuts. I'm in the middle of that. I'm the only guy with a straight face. I was a little concerned about Boobs Breazeale there, all right?
Why don't you call that to his face next time?
Yeah, all right, here we go. Hey, my number 2 moment of the year, I gotta be honest, it's people up in their feels about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And one of those people is sitting next to me at this desk, nursing his first beer.
No, I've had.
Hey, bartender, Joe Boo.
I reported.
Joe Boo needs a refill.
Face, learn
All right, here's the deal, Luke. I'm a hardcore Star Wars guy, okay?
All right, nothing wrong with that.
All right, when I was 3 years old, I went to my grandparents' house every day. Star Wars Episode 4, I watched 3 times a day, every single day. I'm one of those hardcore originals. Episode 9. Was it the way I would want the saga, the Skywalker 9-episode series to end? Not necessarily. But was it jump off the cliff, call the whole franchise shit, pick it out the doors of Disney, call this thing,
I didn't call the whole franchise shit.
Just basically have an outrage that would have been equivalent to when the prequels came out, yet we didn't have really an updated internet at that point.
Right.
Do you realize how bad the damn prequels were?
Yeah,
Anybody who steps up today and tries to say, well, they're a little bit underrated, they're not actually as bad as you think.
Marcos Villegas.
They're an insult. Within that insult, there's some, redeemable moments and story and all that. But largely, that's vegetable lasagna, the prequels. That's like something I think I like, but there's no meat in the middle of it. It's not geared toward me. Episode 9 was hit and miss.
Was it hit?
It was hit and miss.
Yeah.
From an in-theater experience, especially that middle third of the movie.
Were you sitting next to Andy King? Is that why it was a hit?
I caught the old school feels. Can you stand up to this? Because you have spent a lot of time on radio, on YouTube, getting those clicks, cashing those dollars, buying those diapers with, oh my God, the sky has fallen. I mean, it's a little nerd heavy here, Luke.
Well, first of all, I count myself as a Star Wars nerd too. I think we share a mutual fandom. Let me ask you this real quickly. Have you watched at all The Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
A few episodes.
So you're not finished with it yet?
Not finished.
It gets really good at the end. I finished the last episode. You're going to love it, okay? So I'm not out on all things Star Wars. In fact, the overwhelming majority of their content, the middle 3, so episodes 4, 5, and 6, I love for the most part, in varying degrees. Mandalorian I loved. Force Awakens I was fine with. Last Jedi I thought had its problems, but was creative. Prequels were the prequels are for kids. I don't know. I mean, it's just shit. They're terrible. I don't know what else to say about them, okay? Here's the problem with this movie. It's twofold. One, it's objectively a bad movie. 2, the problem with it is, and here's my real bone of contention, I'm not suggesting to you, Brian, that the last movie, The Last Jedi, is some problem-free movie. It's got plenty of issues I didn't like. I didn't like the Mary Poppins Leia thing. I didn't like the ham-handed way they treated politics. I didn't like how Snoke was just offed, and then that was the end of it. There's a lot, and that could go on. But those are three major ones that really stood out to me. However, what they did do with that movie, Rian Johnson in particular, he was right about essentially three core insights. Kylo Ren is not interesting as an emo bag of shit. He's only interesting as a guy who gives in to his own evil impulses. 1. 2, dude, Star Wars, he was right. Goodbye to the First Order. Goodbye to the Rebellion. Goodbye to everything. It was time for that shit to end. And that's no, let me finish. Dude, if there was anything that this last movie showed, it was that Star Wars went on way past its expiration.
No.
This saga
Okay.
of, hold on, let me finish.
This style of storytelling.
This saga went on way too long. And last, but not least, the most important insight of all of this was,
look at the anger.
in an era of the failure of our own institutions, of belief systems and the buildings that house them, he took that insight and brought it to Star Wars, which I thought was fucking brilliant. He took a risk.
I still believe.
What they did was they said, you know what? We've got mouth breathers for audience who didn't like us taking a risk with our characters. Let's just.
No, I don't hate that.
Let's just get the cover band back together and play all the hits.
And to some degree, I think you would agree. The failures of Episode 9 did kind of fix some of the failures of Episode 8.
They didn't fix
because
any of
it
them,
was
dude.
like
they exacerbated them.
And I thought it actually fixed it to a certain
If I
degree.
smash your car window and you tape it up with duct tape and drive around, did you fix your window?
All right, here we're going down a weird road right now.
Right.
All right,
you
here's
didn't
the point.
fix anything. You just covered it up.
I didn't love the final scene with spoiler alert. I didn't love the final scene with Palps. I didn't love Palpatine being back in the movie. I didn't love him not being actually
Is that not
explained
so uncreative?
why he's back in the movie. Completely a punt and non-creative.
Oh, I got one lightsaber.
I do
Let
say
me
though,
get two.
look, for being a hardcore nerd for years on this level, I do have limits. I don't read the books. I don't go too deep. I did watch Rebels and all the other side of spin-off
Clone
things.
Wars.
But I've watched some nerd YouTube videos that sort of explain why the things that you think you hate in Episode 9, watching it for the first time in the theater, actually fall in line with the overall storytelling of the entire universe.
Like every time they do something interesting, they kill it off? You mean like cheap plot
So what I'm
devices that
saying
you can see
is,
coming a mile away?
in the end, the messages that the final half hour sent were actually the right ones. Execution was a little off, but the final scene, they nailed it.
It was the most. It's
The
like
final message of it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It matters who you end up becoming.
Oh, is that really what it is?
You could be born in Qatar.
You're nothing.
You
no
can
way.
be-
You're Palpatine's
You can be
granddaughter.
bullied in old
First of all-
Marietta,
first of
Luke,
all,
but you can still get your own Showtime show. Hey, shout out to Miguel Flores right there.
that was my face when Brian Campbell was like, I didn't hate it.
This is, that guy looks like a Bermudan official when Andy King walks in the room, right?
No, that's Andy King when the Bermudan
Oh,
official walks in.
Bahamian, sorry, Bahamian. All right, yeah. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for doing your
No,
job.
the
there. All
movie
right.
is just, it's a poorly made movie. And what people really wanted was they just wanted,
Look, I had disappointments, but on a whole,
I understand.
On a whole, it's 100 times better than the prequels.
Well, dude, that's not saying anything. That's not saying anything.
Jay's trying to get us to go. People don't realize, though, what we have seen with Rogue One is how you can tell the modern Star Wars movie. All right? Hopefully,
we're
people will take
mostly in
notice.
alignment. You're just
All right.
too forgiving of poor craftsmanship.
My number one moment of the year in 2019 in combat sports and beyond, it's unity. And it's similar and it mirrors, Luke.
Why is gay sex the theme through all of this?
Wow. All right, let me restart. So my number one moment of 2019, Luke, is it really mirrors you and I, all right? Us coming together for this show, building this band of this audience of just voracious viewers and listeners.
What's your show about?
And
two dudes fuck.
Here's the thing. You called Polish regional MMA tip on tip a yin and yang. And in some ways, Luke, you and I are that yin and yang. The dark side of the force and the light side, right? The twig and the berries, right? The tango and the cash. We come together to make something special. So I wanted to commemorate this moment of Polish regional MMA finally coming to the forefront. Tip on tip reality. It's a lifestyle, it's a movement, Luke. And really for this set's history, although a woman on the train did ruin my project here to you, I wanted to commemorate this moment.
Is this real?
In loving memory, Luke. Tip on tip, 2019 and forever.
Did you really have a broken frame?
Well, here's the deal on my train ride in from hell. A lady sat on it. It's a true story. It happened.
Are you shitting me?
But I can buy a cheap frame to replace that. Luke, this is really what it's all about. This is my moment of the year because it's not
Are they
just
also
the
smooching? I don't know.
Well,
if I
here's the
noticed that
deal.
before.
It's not just
Oh my God. I mean, look at
broken
this.
glass everywhere. It's not just the intensity of what's going on down below that, of course, you're fixated on. Check out the heart that they formed right here, because really fighting and loving, there's a thin line between them. The intensity here, this is our J right here, this girl. This is like really, Luke, this is you and I, and this is the spirit of what we bring to the show. Intensity in your face. The yin, the yang, the ding and the dong.
We should have started drinking.
And we really
before the
should, we should really put this on the set.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You know, do I have a nail up here at all, Jay? Yeah. All right, right here. So it can live on forever. Thank you. Luke, that's my top moments of 2019.
I'm good with that.
All right.
I'm good with that.